by.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Good morning and welcome on this morning's Sunrise Safari. For those of you joining us for the first time, my name is Jamie, and this morning I have Jandre on camera with me, and we have all kinds of exciting things planned for you on a live safari experience right here in the middle of the African bush, and more specifically Djuma, Arathusa and Cheetah Plains game reserves in the Sabi Sand in the Greater Kruger National Park area of South Africa. And let us try and go back because we have a forest. Got him. There we go, look at this. Just to start off your morning experience, a duiker furiously digging to try and get to the root systems or something, tuber of some kind, underneath the surface of the soil. Oh, marvellous. It's not often that our duikers stay on camera this period of time. This is a grey or a common duiker, and if you have any further questions on it or anything else that you see here or any other questions wildlife or conservation related, you can send those through on hashtag SafariLIVE on Twitter, or you can email through to questions@wildearth.tv. Little male fluffed up against the chill of the fresh winter morning air. Not freezing this morning. 11 degrees, 51 degrees Fahrenheit. Definitely not our coldest morning so far. Thoroughly enjoyable. Oh, what a wonderful way to start off our sunrise safari. We're going to be heading out. I'm looking, of course, for the Queen of Djuma, having not failed yesterday afternoon, but Jandre and myself and Herbert, we went out on bushwalk to see if we couldn't relocate Karula, the female leopard, for whom this is the central part of her territory, and her 2 young cubs. Her 2 young cubs were left not far away from where we are now. I'm not going straight there. I'm going to see if I can't figure out where her tracks went. That being said, the light we're tracking this morning is tricky. It's one of those strange transitional mornings. I think we're getting a cold front coming through. It's giving us a little bit of extra warmth, the cloud blanket, which will change, I think, as the clouds slowly make their way across the sky and contribute to making the day cooler rather than making the morning warmer. Where may she be? The nice thing about Karula is that we know yesterday she was very definitely on the hunt for something to eat and something to feed her cubs with. The chances are she was successful at some point in the evening. We know Karula well. We know that she has a relatively solid success rate when it comes to feeding herself and her cubs. And we're going to go and see if we can't figure out where she may be. And while we do that, Mr. Henry would like to bid you all a good morning, so let's head across onto the back of Rusty.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome on our little sunrise jaunt safari. We're driving into what can only be described as a post-apocalyptic sunrise. My name is James Henry. On camera today's Brian, the thumb Joubert. Brian, just a suited thumb today?
A very chuffed suited thumb.
A chuffed suited thumb. Very nice. Our plan for the morning, and we're as live as Jamie is, believe it or not, is to head towards the east here. We're going to see if we can find those very tiny little lion cubs that we had yesterday. We'll have a quick view look in there and see if Mum is there with them. If not, we're going to continue towards Cheetah Plains. I haven't been there for a little while, and I'd like to go and see what's going on in the open clearings. Now, I will show you the post-apocalyptic sky that Brian and I have been observing. Let me just get over this ridge. Of course, there will no doubt be a tree in the way, so it'll be impossible for us to see. Say when, Brian? Probably not too bad. Just have a look there, everyone. And the sun will pop up fairly shortly. So we're as live as Jamie, as I said, hashtag SafariLive if you want to talk to us on Twitter, questions@wildearth.tv if you want to talk to us on the email. Either just as good. Obviously, you're limited by characters on tweet. As we sit here, the dawn chorus is very much not a chorus, but a one or two stragglers just tuning their instruments. I can hear a southern black-tit going zzz, hornbills through the valley of the Great Mulwati drainage going otherwise not a great deal. 11 degrees Celsius apparently, 51 Fahrenheit, and those grey clouds that you can see there seem to be a front coming in from the southeast. Righty, look at those sort of ominous smoky clouds there. And our plan now, of course, well, we're going to keep going slowly towards the east. Penny Pine, you want me to point out a baobab tree sometime during this drive? Penny Pine? There is a very good reason that I will be unable to do that. It's largely because should I drive this vehicle, there are two reasons. Should I drive this vehicle into a position where I could show you a baobab tree, there would be A, no signal, and B, I would be arrested for trespassing. So what happened, or the reason I can't show you a baobab tree, is that they don't extend this south. The extent of their range is about 50 kilometers to the north of us, maybe slightly less than that, but about 50 kilometers. In the Timbavati, there are two very large examples of baobabs. There are a couple that have been planted on a reserve called Ngala. They're a bit further south of those, and they don't extend further south than that. There are lots up north in the Kruger National Park, and then up into, of course, Mapungubwe, Pafuri, up into Zimbabwe and Zambia, plenty of baobab trees, but none this far south, Penny, so I'm afraid no baobab. Did she say leopard?
She did indeed.
Oh, Jamie has succeeded already.
I have a marvelous surprise for you. Just driving past, the tiniest flick of a little tail alerted me to the presence of two gorgeous little creatures. And I've just found out where Mom is because Herbert has just called it in. This is absolutely wonderful. Herbert's got their mom. Karula's cubs are playing here in front of us. They're having a marvelous time entertaining themselves, playing gently, keeping each other thoroughly entertained. I would like to introduce to you, if you are joining us for the first time, to Shungile and Hosana. Shungile meaning beautiful and Hosana meaning little prince. And by the way, Hosana can actually be turned into Hosa, which is big prince or big chief. When the little male does grow older, he will have an extraordinary name to match his stature. Oh, which one have we got there? It's quite difficult to see, but I think that might be the male on the left. And they've just got so big. It is absolutely marvelous to see them playing and keeping each other entertained in this way. Hello, guys. We see you. Okay, I'm keeping my voice nice and soft, and as Jean-Ray showed you in the beginning, we're very far away from them since they are without their mum. Peering across the safety of the drainage line at us. What a spectacular way to start off our morning. We've just been so incredibly spoilt with little leopard cub sightings. And they are such well-behaved little children, or little offspring, that Karula has produced. She's told them to stay put, as all mother leopards do, and so they have for the last 24 hours that they have been all on their own. And those time periods will increase more and more as they get older. They're now 5 months of age. So they're going to be left alone for longer periods of time. Oh, hello. Here's the little girl looking at us. A little bit more independent. Oh, there's your, I want your tail. Bite your ear. See them playing with each other. And just like any kitten or cub, they are full of playfulness and at the same time practicing the hunting skills that they will need in the future. In little movements, that little flick of the tail, anything like that, it immediately attracts their attention and they pounce on it. And as they start to grow a little bit bigger, we're going to see that more and more as they try to catch other little things like squirrels and so on. Hey, you two, when is Mommy coming home? If Herbert just got a brief view of Karula, I'm hoping she's heading in this direction to come and fetch them. And you can see they're not at all bothered by our presence. We're going to make sure we keep it that way. But what a perfect way to start off our morning. Leopard cubs live from the African bush. Now, Michael, this is actually, sorry, I should have actually gone into this almost immediately once we've spoken about their new names. So we've named them early. Traditionally, leopard cubs only get their names after a year. We've named them early by agreement from all of the lodges as we watch them play. Oh, big brother's pinned sister to the ground. We've named them early to avoid slight confusion that seems to happen because they're some of the most famous leopard cubs in the world. We've named them a little bit early because otherwise that naming process is going to happen automatically and we're going to have mass confusion. So we've named them a bit early, and Michael wants to know how we spell the names. The name of the male, Hosana, H-O-S-A-N-A. H-O-S-A-N-A. Shungile, the beautiful one, is currently baring her teeth and her claws at her brother. That is X-O, because the X sound is a sh sound in Shangaan. Shungile, X-O-N-G-I-L-E. X-O-N-G-I-L-E, Shungile. And I think two beautifully suited names. I think Shungile especially, since she really is truly beautiful with her bright brown eyes. Oh, I'm a fearsome predator. I'm a little predator, but I'm a fearsome predator. I'm just going to pop onto the Game Drive channel and make sure that everybody knows this is here. But I'll do that in a moment. We're in no rush just yet. The other guys are still far away. Oh, getting kicked and battered. Oh, standing on each other's face. This is absolutely awesome. Keeping themselves entertained. While they tackle each other, let's head across to Brent, find out what he's up to, and we'll be back with these little monsters shortly.
We've been looking for Karula. We've got her tracks. I've now just heard a lion calling, not far from where we are, directly to the east. I'd guess maybe a couple of 100 meters. So I think we're going to go look for that. We've been checking. We've got Karula's tracks, but they're from early last night. But there's a lion. It sounds like a male, quite close by. My name's Brent. I've got Dangerous Dave the Dish on camera with me. There we go, Giggle to get the camera wobbling. And we've got Herbert on the security detail. So very exciting. We can always come back to Karula's tracks, but while we've got a lion calling, it's the way to go. So we're going to change our direction. We're going to head straight towards the rising sun, because that's where it sounded like the lion was. So I'm going to see where Herbie is. I know Herbie would have heard it as well. Exciting times. Wouldn't it be fun to have some lions on foot this morning? Of course, this is live, so you are tracking on foot through the African bush, live with myself, the Dish, and Herbie. the dish, watch out for the tree. And I can see Herbie there. So what we're going to do is we're going to be walking quite quickly to get into that area where we heard the lion. I'd say a couple of 100 meters to the east. So while we race towards those lions, let's go see what the leopard cubs are up to with Jamie.
Now the cubs are playing with each other, keeping each other well entertained. I haven't quite finished chatting to the guys on the Game Drive channel just yet, so bear with me if every now and again I have to pick it up and just decide exactly how we're going to manage the situation. Hey, you two, what you doing? I've lost the other one. I can't see where the other one has gone. Oh, I can see where the other one has gone, but I'm not sure you'll be able to. There we go. Hello, gorgeous. Don't worry, I think Mom's coming back now. I think she's heading back to fetch her cubs, and we are in the perfect position to wait until she does so. Isn't it marvelous how they know for their survival that they must stay in one place until Mom returns? And those survival instincts are incredibly powerful. So if by chance a hyena happened into this area, or a lion for example, they will absolutely be dashing up into the safety of the trees. Well, well. How spoilt are you on this glorious morning out here in the African bush? We've got tiny leopard cubs playing. James has something else very small.
Hello everybody, look at this. We've just come into this area and we just quickly checked if these cubs are here. They are here. Mum is not here, but just listen. The birds are going ballistic. And so I think Mum is not far away. I think she's around here. We're going to sit here for another 2 minutes and see if Mum doesn't pitch up. And if she pitches up, then that's great. Otherwise, we're going to leave them completely be. But can you hear the birds going crazy? I can't see Mum. I can smell. You smell that, Brian? It's quite a strong urine kind of a smell. But I don't know why the birds would be going so insane if there wasn't a lioness around here. Starlings. Starlings really cross. Just down the drainage line there. Now there are 4 lionesses on Buffelshoek Hook. Don't know who they are. That's quite a long way from where we are. Well, let's sit here for 2 minutes and see if the mother lioness doesn't come wandering up the top of the drainage lane. Oh, isn't this wonderful? I can't believe how lucky we are. And Wendy, you say, do birds and squirrels alarm call at these cubs? Wendy, in theory, no, I don't think so. They certainly do. They have started alarm calling at the leopard cubs, but these ones I think are too small. This is unbelievable. It really is very, very special indeed. Just playing gently, fast asleep. Just waking up, trying to stay warm. It's quite chilly, like I said. The birds are going absolutely crazy back there. You hear them? Hornbills, starlings, orioles. Alright everybody, we're going to have to pull out of this sighting. I can't just sit here all day long. I'd love to sit here all day long. And that's simply because it would be slightly unfair. Right, let's go back to Jamie and the leopard cubs. I'll just assess if the mother isn't here, and we'll probably leave shortly. Just wonderful sighting.
While we wait to assess the situation with the lion cubs, we're just waiting for Karula to return to her two mischievous little monsters. And Horsana is being stalked by his sister Shungile. And Shungile is going to automatically become Shungi. Can guarantee it. Shungi is going to become her nickname. Just a little pattern of spots hidden behind the trees. I'm going to keep the repositioning down to an absolute minimum, and we can keep our impact on them absolutely minimal. So you'll have to bear with a view that is not sterling, but things will change once a Karula arrives. A wonderful question through from Irek is that perhaps the leopard cubs got a memo from the lion cubs, or that the memo that they were being upstaged. Because they've never seen them play so much. This is so wonderful, a marvelous sighting, bouncing around, having an absolute whale of a time, keeping each other entertained. And of course it's also their age, that now they are old enough to be playful and coordinated enough to know that they can play safely without having to run away from any potential predators. But you're absolutely right, it is so wonderful to see them play like this in the morning sunlight. I mean, oh, there's my tail. And anything is a toy when you're a leopard cub, including your own tail. And look at that, they are just, now they're like perfect little miniatures of Mom. Almost. Maybe a little bit fluffier. Settling down, exploring, getting restless though. I think waiting for Mom is starting to take its toll on them. Probably feeling a little bit hungry. But 24 hours is not too long. She could leave them for up to 3 days, although I don't think she's going to. At any moment now we could hear the call of Mom as she reunites with her little ones. She may even have been back here at some point during the night to come and check up on them, say hello. Where are you going? Where are you off to? That was you, you silly thing. That was you that caused that mudslide. That's so cool. That they feel comfortable enough to even come closer to the vehicles. Or to the vehicle, it's just me at the moment in this sighting. Taking a tumble down into the drainage. Here comes number 2. Where did your brother go, little one? What's he up to? Is he full of nonsense? Oh, she's gorgeous. Those brown eyes are just so wonderful. Oh, I'm a hunter. Look at that. Stalking instinct. Come on, girl. You've got the height advantage here. Get him. Get him. Exhibiting every sign of the behavior that will make her a fearsome hunter when she grows up. She's got another year and a half, well, she's got another year, maybe another year and a half, before she is out all alone, fending for herself. Her brother has a little bit longer. Yes, there we go, get him. Oh, how did he do that? Her brother is an artist at this. He got to the top of the drainage line without me even seeing that. I've lost both of them. Okay. You've got her still. There he goes. Now, as I said, we're not going to reposition when we can't see them. We're going to let them come out of the drainage line rather than us down into it, because if I were to reposition now, I would be way too much in their personal space, and I don't want to do that. Driving on top of a drainage line this steep, it'll make them feel trapped and scared. And Aqua's absolutely right. This is something so exciting for us to look forward to. I was sort of watching out of the corner of my eye at the same time. So the more they practice these playful skills of theirs, the better they're going to get at hunting. And very soon they're going to progress to catching things like lizards, bugs, squirrels, even mongoose. You little nonsenses. Oh, you just disappeared from view. Don't worry, Gendre. We've got... This is awesome. Little tails playing and waving in the drainage. Aqua's right. There's something marvelous about watching little leopard cubs learn to hunt. It's hilarious, first of all, because it often goes very wrong. And then, second of all, it is an extraordinary sighting. So, Aqua, I can't wait either for them to catch their first bug or lizard or whatever it may be. Where'd you go, you two? Have you exhausted each other? While we sit here with Karula's slightly older cubs, much older than the little lion fuzzballs that Brent described as sausages yesterday, Safari Dean has raised a very good point. The big cats of Djuma have left us on babysitting duty. They've left Wild Earth on babysitting duty. I couldn't agree with you more, but you know what? This is the sort of babysitting now. I'm not terribly good with children, but this kind of babysitting, this I can do. And I'm sure everybody here feels exactly the same. We'll keep an eye on them for Karula until she returns. Now, Richard Kennedy, just to go back to what we were talking about before, you wanted to know at what age the little cubs will leave Karula. The females leave sooner than the males. They exhibit signs of independence quicker than the males. She will probably leave Karula at about 18 months of age, possibly up to 2 years, but it's usually around a year and a half up to 2. The males will stay a little bit longer. Just keeping an eye out on what's going on so that I don't distract you from little heads bobbing up and down every now and again. Males stay a little bit longer, usually up to 2 years, sometimes even 2.5, that they are still revisiting mom and paying a sort of coming to say hello. Oh, look at that. And nobody wants to come and join us for now. We have this... Oh! All to ourselves. How amazing is this? Just blurs of spots battering each other about. So playful. absolutely wonderful. What have you got there, Jean? Have they popped out there already?
No, they ran up there.
This is crazy. They're all over the place. Right, over to Brent, honey badger.
He's coming back. So sorry about the messiness, but there's a honey badger down in the distance from us. Wait, he's going to come out of the bush now. I've lost sight of him. He's just to the left of screen. So I'm frolicking about. We're in the area where we thought the male lion was, and then suddenly I just spotted this honey badger in the distance. Okay. Just... Can you see him? He's going to come out. Just go off to the right slightly, please, Dad. Or something. And zoom on the road. Oh, it's a rock. Okay, so just to the left of that marula tree, he's in that little thicket there. Come on. He was right in the middle of the road. Come on, you little... Oh, okay, I think we're going to try to get closer. And hopefully he pops out. But really exciting. We are in the area where we think the male lion is as well. So, unfortunately, he could be just behind us across our eastern boundary. But I'm just trying to make sure that honey badger doesn't pop up again. But let's go see if we can get a bit closer. Sometimes if we go really quietly, and we can do that on a road like this, we can get very close to them. And if we sit down, sometimes they come up and inspect you. Very exciting honey badger. It always pays to listen as well, because we know there's a lion around here somewhere as well. Okay, so we're going to go very, very quietly now. So I'm going to stop speaking for a little bit, just so we can try and get another view of this honey badger. Now, honey badgers have a very zigzaggy feeding style, so they don't generally go in one direction. So he could literally pop up anywhere, even attached to Dave's calf, possibly. At the same time, I'm looking for lion tracks. I'm actually looking even close by here, just behind Dave, even though we saw that honey badger miles down the road. I'm going to stop here quickly. I'm just going to stop and wait and look. But I think he was going more to the northeast. So I'm going to use my stick and I'm going to look into Dave's monitor. So where's my stick? There we go. That's where he was frolicking about, in that area there. I was hoping he might just pop out. But no such luck yet. Well, we're going to keep moving down here looking for the lion and the honey badger. Wouldn't it be nice to see a lion and a honey badger in the same sighting on foot? Wouldn't that be incredible? Kathy has a very, very good question. Oh, Dave's stuck on a tree. She'd like to know where the honey badgers are like big skunks. Sort of. They do have that very potent anal gland that they are able to spray out of, but they're far bigger than a skunk and much more tough. And they're incredible animals. There's amazing loose skin that enables them to wrestle with lions and all sorts of other big creatures. And most animals try to avoid them for the combination of their toughness and that foul-smelling odor that can spray out of their anal gland. Now, when I've been tracking by myself on Juma, I've had a honey badger less than 2 meters from me. I just sat down, he sort of walked up to me and suddenly went, What's that? And ran off. Now, check carefully. I think he's been going further north, but he fossicks and goes into holes and all sorts of stuff. So, while we keep checking for this incredible little beast, let's go back to some equally as incredible little cubs.
Here we go. We've still got the cubs. Sorry guys, the signal here is really shaky. I've tried to put myself at a good angle. I'm really hoping to be able to watch with a bone. They've been playing with a vertebra. That's what they've been up to. And they are like little spotted blurs dancing around the drainage line. It is absolutely marvelous. Too cute for words. Here we go. Little girl starting to become more sedate and relax. I think they're going to get tired at some point. Oh, no, no, no. There's a root to play with. There's the vertebra. Look at that. Okay. Sorry, guys. I know the signal. But
Okay, just behind that branch, it's going to move now. There's actually 3 honey badgers. Come on, pop out. They've gone down a hole. You know, they're still there. Still there. A little bit to the left corner. There in the middle. Okay, wait. I'm just going to have a quick look. Dave, come here very slowly to me. Come here. Okay, you see it there now. So, keep going, go over to the right. There we go, zoom now. A little bit lower. There he is. See that center frame? Oh, look at it jogging. Look at it jogging. So there are 3 of them here. Okay, Dave, we're going to sneak up to the termite mound. So come with us. Okay. Quick, Dave, come. Right, it's sticking right in front of us in the gap between the trees. Come this side a little bit more. Here we go. Dave, come up again. There's the gap there. Wait, no, what's going on here? Yes. Dave, maybe in the middle of frame, zoom. Over to the... Right, just... Okay, I'll go with that branch. Okay, go to the right, through that gap. Yeah, no, right. This is over. You see it with your eyes? Between these gaps in the trees. Okay. try and get a bit higher so we can see. Oh, it's moving. Got it. Okay, he's got it. There he is. So that honey badger does not know we're here. It's probably about 40 meters away. Now there's 3 of them. Now we can only see 1. Oh, look at that. Isn't that absolutely amazing? Oh. Now this is definitely the longest honey badger sighting I've ever had on Safari Live. And it's on foot. Now it'll be digging for scorpions, dung beetle larvae, snakes, anything it can find. So that one's disappearing. There are another 2 around. Okay, we're gonna sneak up on it now. We're having some success with the sneaking, but it could take us a while. But isn't this incredible? We're going to try to follow a honey badger on foot. So we're going to go very slowly. Now remember, there are 3. Probably a female and 2 sub-adults. Let's go look what it was digging at as well. Oh, I think we've been spotted. He saw us. Oh, no, there. Come this way. No, he's digging again. Come here. Look, see, there's 1 running there. And then now there's 3 there. I saw 2 that time, actually. Oh, disappearing. But they're still not too aware of us. Okay, well, I'm going to let them calm down a bit, but let's go have a look what it was digging at. Here we go. So it's been digging all around here. What was this at? Now this looks like from the shape of the hole that's left there, looks like it was trying to dig out a spider. Amazing. Oh, actually, we're a bit closer than I thought. Let's just see where they were going. They're still heading sort of northeast, so we're going to do the same. Just go very slowly. Oh, watch the hole, Dave. Isn't that amazing? That is definitely the best honey badger sighting I've had since Safari Live. Normally it's just a dash and into the bush, but well done, Dave. I know it was a difficult one. And we're going to go back to Jamie and the leopards while we keep trying to track the honey badgers.
I am having probably one of the best times of my entire life. Just sitting watching these 2 cubs. They are barreling about the place, entertaining themselves, making everything into a plaything, chasing each other around, getting bored, climbing the walls. They are just the best things in the entire world. Now, Brent's very kindly lent me his camera, so I'm going to take some pictures and see how that works out for me. I'll publish them so you all get an idea of just how revolting my photography skills truly are. But I cannot resist, so apologies for the noise, but hopefully we'll all get to enjoy moments with these little cubs. It's so extraordinary. Now, we have got limited time to spend with them. I've decided that it is because they're alone and because they are relaxed, we are going to make space for another vehicle at some point. Now, they will come in a few moments. So these are the last few moments that we've got with the little cubs. We're fine for now. Oh. You little maniacs. This is absolutely marvelous. I've lost them completely. spotted blurs disappeared in that general direction. Oh, there we go. There's another spotted blur. Now the spotted blurs are climbing a tree, sort of. Oh, and we're going back into the drainage, and it's up the other side. It's Shongile in the lead. That's absolutely wonderful. And of course we are so fortunate to be... Hey, I'm speaking. Shh. Okay, we'll just wait for the arrow marked babblers to finish their sentence. Right, Rama, when will leopard cubs start to mark their territory? The answer to that is they will start to mark their... Oh, cute, look at them watching the arrow marked babblers. Okay, I'm distracted. I'll calm down. They start to mark their territory. It depends if they're male or female. When a female gains independence, she almost immediately slots into a territory because her mother hands over a portion of hers. So she'll start marking territory at about 2.5 years old, as soon as she establishes herself. A male has to wait a little bit longer. All right, babblers, I know. You finish your sentence. A male, on the other hand, has to wait until he is big enough to establish his own territory. So young males, what they'll do is they will disperse away from their mothers so that they don't risk inbreeding with their half-sisters or their sisters or their moms. And they will go and establish a territory, but it's only at around, at the earliest 5, although Quarantine, the interesting thing about Karula's son Quarantine, who at 4.5, he's a big leopard and he challenged his older brother in a way that was quite extraordinary the other day. Sorry guys, I do have to keep listening to the Game Drive channel, so my attention's a bit distracted because there's lots of conversation happening. So there is absolutely a chance that they will start marking at around sort of 5, maybe a little bit older. Oh, we wanted to go for the bird there. Okay, I do need to, sorry, I'll come back to that question. I do need to get onto the Game Drive channel. In the meantime, we are sending you back somewhere else to show you something else marvelous.
There, everybody, is not quite the highlight of your day, of course. Unbelievable that you've been looking at badgers and leopard cubs and, of course, the tiny baby lion cubs. And that's a kudu, eating leaves. I try to say that with a modicum of enthusiasm, and I mean it is a beautiful sighting of a kudu, although it's a little bit in the bush, but goodness, we've had a hell of a morning. And the sun now, Brian, is warming our faces precipitously.
Indeed.
You remember that word that we were taught yesterday, 2 days ago? Apricity.
Apricity.
Do you know what apricity is?
No, I don't.
It is the warmth of the sun upon one's face on a cold winter's day.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes. I'm feeling much apricity right now.
Oh, me too.
Yes. Right, we're still on Djuma. Every time I try to get to Cheetah Plains, I seem to find more things here. Well, I mean, I say that as though I found a great plethora today, but we are now on our far eastern boundary, and we're going to head down the Cheetah Cut line towards Cheetah Plains and see what's there. There are 4 lions. They think the Talamati lionesses on Buffelshoek right now. So not sure where the Nkuhumas are. They did try and track them last night, apparently from that buffalo kill that they had, but they weren't there. They didn't manage to find them. I suspect they're probably somewhere on the eastern fringes of, or western fringes of Djuma, or maybe on Simbambili. Right, let's go back to Brent. He's got a track.
So, since we've seen honey badger, let's carry on with the smaller predators around. And we've got a very interesting track here. Now, you can just make out the 3 lobes at the back. So it is a cat, but it looks, it's smaller than Karula's cub tracks at the moment. And you can see definitely a little cat, and a nice, really nice way to measure with these things. If we take the gait, which is the length of stride, So let's take this one and draw a line here, like that, right at the back, and then we draw a line there at the next one, and we measure like that with a stick. Break the stick there. There we go. That's how tall, more or less, the serval is at the shoulder. Now, for a small cat, they've got very long legs, and that's this big gant. Now, that gant is almost the same length as a leopard like Karula's, but Karula will probably be a little bit longer, a little bit higher at the shoulder. But isn't that fascinating? A serval. Now, we've seen the honey badger. Should we try the near impossible? Should we try track a serval? I think we should. What do you think, Dave? We're going to try track a serval. Now, these tracks are from last night, so it's going to be quite difficult, and I'm sure we'll find lots of fascinating things on the way, but we're going to try track a serval. So I think our luck's running high this morning. We've had honey badger, the longest honey badger sighting I've ever had. So while we track this spotted cat, let's go back to Jamie, who's got other spotted cats.
Can you imagine if we get a serval on screen as well? Just how extraordinary this morning truly is. I mean, playing leopard cubs, miniature lions, a honey badger or 2 or 3. Absolutely incredible. And these two are still having an absolute ball. They have moved into a slightly more tricky position, but I think most of you will have had some extraordinary screenshots to remember this moment forever, and I think we will remember this moment forever. Every time I come past this drainage line now, I will picture Karula's 2 little cubs having a marvelous morning, being the most playful I think we've ever seen them. Just incredible, while they wait patiently for Mom to come back. And Jennifer, while we're sitting here, the play, whilst it has been boisterous, positively rambunctious, they are utterly silent. So Jennifer wants to know if they're making any sounds. The only sounds they're making is the rustling of the leaves as they run about, or the sliding of the dirt in the drainage. Otherwise, no, they are totally quiet. And the only time they will make sounds is when Mom decides to come back and join them. Okay, guys, Ephraim is on his way, and when he does arrive, we will pull out. Just bear with me 1 second. Copy that, F. Let me know when you are at the junction elephant carcass. I'll move out for you. Enjoy the playing of the cubs for the last few moments. Oh, never mind. In that case, don't stress. We don't have to go anywhere just yet. Okay, copy that. No problem. I'll stand by here until you pull in. Marvellous. Ephraim's decided he's not coming straight here. He's going to check for Mom first. Mom, it appears, is wandering south towards Gowrie, Maine. Ah. Oh. Battering each other with their tails. And Arcadia, if Karula successfully raises these 2 cubs to adulthood, and I have to say, I am very positive about that. I think she has the most marvellous success record with little cubs. Arcadia would like... Okay, everybody, I'm so sorry about that dip in screen. And luckily for us, we have managed to stay with the cubs for just a bit longer to give you this glorious view. Little Shungile with George at the back. No, his name is George, his name's Hosanna. Damn it, James. That's all James's fault. Habit. Habit's become a... Hosanna and Tungile enjoying the last rays of the morning sun, and we're going to have to leave them very, very soon. So let us just enjoy this marvelous glance of this cute little thing staring off into the sun. They've relaxed a lot. They are just, I think, sunbathing for now, waiting for mommy, and also listening carefully to an advancing herd of elephants that are on their way in this direction. So we're going to be leaving them very soon. They'll be absolutely fine. The elephants are not a threat to them. They might chase them, but they won't chase them far. Such a gorgeous view. Absolutely marvelous. A truly special, very memorable morning in terms of time spent with some of our most beloved new arrivals to Djuma. We have been incredibly spoilt. Okay, I need to call Ephraim in to the sighting, so we are going to leave in a moment. I'm just waiting for the conversation to end so that I can hop on the Game Drive channel. The guys have found the Nkuhumas, or the Telematis, it hasn't been clarified. They found some lionesses in Buffelshoek. They're just giving some directions there. Are you going to go up the tree? What are you thinking? Yes, no? No. I'm just going to sit here and look beautiful. I actually never finished the conversation about leopard ages at which they start to mark their territory. And I apologize to Michael. He got so severely distracted by gremlins and things. We spoke about the females, but the males we never fully qualified. So it depends on the male. It's usually around 6 years old that they start to establish themselves a territory. They might do it at a little bit of a younger age if, for example, there's a vacuum of large males in that area. If they find themselves a good spot where there isn't a large male in attendance, then they will start to mark territory a little bit earlier. Oh, such a big yawn. Very tiring thing, spending your morning galloping about like little maniacs. Sometimes you need to just sit and relax. And she's blinking sleepily in the sun. I think she's going to go and fall asleep. Hosanna at the back, wriggling around every now and again. Just that flash of movement on the right of your screen. His sister looking dignified. Such a wonderful sighting. So what we'll do when we do leave is we will go and we will find Karula. Oh, that actually might be. Let's just hold off for one moment. I think it's. There you go, Shamsun, who's observant, listening to alarm calling birds. You're wondering if they're alarm calling at Karula? I don't think so. I'm listening very carefully, but Shamsun, I don't think that they are alarm calling at her. If it was a leopard, they'd be doing it more. I think at the moment that's just a relaxed contact call between lovely leopard cubs. In the meantime, let's go over to Brent, who has some impala on foot.
So there we go, we're viewing impala across a little riverbed and in a Timberti thicket. And isn't that beautiful? You just see the dappled light coming through onto those male impala. Unfortunately, we lost the serval tracks over a rocky section, So we decided to come check down one of my favorite areas of the whole of Djuma, and it's an area that's best explored on foot. There's lots of spots you can't even get a car into here. And there we go, the Impala moving off. So if we look up, back to the east, we're on this massive game path and utilized by lots of different animals. I mean, we've had kudu tracks, waterbuck tracks, hyena, old leopard tracks, honey badger tracks, white-tailed mongoose tracks, genet tracks, impala tracks, duiker tracks, steenbok tracks. So there's a lot going on in this area, and we're on our way to one of my favorite trees on the whole of Djuma. Hopefully I'm not going to fall out of this one, and it'll stay one of my favorites, unlike the balanites. And Herbert's wandering around ahead, seeing if he can find any little critters. Unfortunately, that lion we heard roaring was to the east of us in Torchwood. And look, here we go, we've got a nice little spot where the elephants have been feeding up ahead here. You can see how they've manhandled this bush willow. Oh, not a bush willow, sorry, weeping wattle. I mean, look at that. That elephant's just ripped this branch off, and it's not light. I mean, look at that. The side, my hand fits in there. And this is not a small branch, and that shows you how incredibly powerful the elephants are. This is probably yesterday by the look of things here, and looking at it, I think this is it's a single elephant from the tracks. It's not multiple, so probably a young bull, and he's spent some time absolutely destroying this weeping wattle. Now, weeping wattle has the softest and most lovely of leaves. That's why it's sometimes called a toilet paper tree. Also, you can make a mattress out of it if you have to stay in the bush for a long period of time, and also a good indicator of where there's underground water. Now, of course, if you're stranded, you're not going to be able to dig down to where the water is. But what I would do if I was stranded, I'd head down to the Moati River and start digging in the sand there. Even if it took me half a day, I would eventually get to water, and that's what would keep me alive out here. Oh, Herbie's found something. Let's go see what Herbie's found. What have we found, Herb? Ooh. Oh, very interesting stuff here. Okay, so we're going to get down and dirty, and got to be a bit careful. Oh, these are, I know, give Jamie the heebie-jeebies, and they are incredibly venomous little creatures. Can you see them, Dave? Look at that coloration, that sort of baby blue legs, and ferocious little hunters. Now, being a centipede, he's got one leg per body segment, and a millipede will have two, sometimes even three in abnormal cases. But look at the colors of this little centipede. Now, they live under logs, so Herbie's turned over a log to expose him, and normally they'll come out at night and hunt for little insects, and even the really big centipedes have been recorded taking mice and little rodents. Now, if they bite you, they've got cytotoxic venom, so it'll cause necrosis. So your skin will actually start rotting around the bite side. But that is not the only fascinating little critter that is under this particular log. And there's a very strange spider. And I'm going to have to ask Steph about this spider because I don't think I know what it is. So if we have a look up here, look at that. I'm pretty sure it's a spider. So I'm not sure what spider this is. So grab some screenshots, send them to me, and I'll try identify it when I get home and maybe ask Steph for some help. But while we continue to search for little and big critters out on foot, let's go back to Jamie for one last look at Karula and the cubs.
One last look at just the cubs. I know I keep saying that to you, and I'm sorry to sort of get your hopes up and then dash them, or vice versa, or guys preparing not to see them anymore, and then we're still here. Just because we're waiting for Ephraim, who's checking very carefully for Karula. Right, I've officially filled up Brent's memory card. He's going to be very chuffed with me. That's okay. I think he did lend me his camera. Of course, now they're being utterly adorable in the open, in full sunlight. But nevertheless, that is just the way things are. Please take lots of screenshots, since I've now can no longer take any more photographs. They are absolutely just the best, most photogenic creatures you have ever seen. They are absolutely marvelous. I think this has been my best leopard cub sighting ever. And I feel like I say that every time we go and see these two. But it really, I'm not exaggerating, it really has truly been extraordinary. We are so fortunate to be in this position. Hosanna has found himself something at the back there, a stick of some kind. Shungile now resting after her brotherly tackle. I can't believe how fortunate we've been, the amount of time we've got to spend with these animals. Oh, I'm thinking about hunting little brother, or big brother, twin brother. Can you believe we're watching leopard cubs play live from the middle of the African bush? Admittedly with one or two problems every now and again. But needless to say, we've been given an insight into the way that these creatures grow and learn and play in a way that I think is unparalleled. You might get a shot or two like this in a documentary, maybe a documentary about the life of a leopard. This is live, this is unedited, and certainly unscripted. I feel as though it's the best way to watch and to learn about the wildlife in this area. You will always be able to picture what a 5-month leopard looks like. 5-month-old leopard. And my deep and profound conversation is being lost to gremlins every now and again. We will just enjoy these moments with peace. You know, I haven't moved. Every time my signal disappears, it just is what it is. Ephraim. Ephraim's gone AWOL. He's disappeared. Perhaps he is off the vehicle tracking. This may or may not be the last view of the cubs. Oh, somebody's got a pile of elephant dung just for fun. I don't know. We're going to go, while I chat on the Game Drive channel, we're going to go over to... Where are we going, Kirsten? Sorry. James. I don't know what's my hearing today. Let's go to James, see what he's up to.
Hello everybody. I've been working at this for about an hour now. Now my dad said to me once that he was a Boy Scout, and one of the badges that they got in Boy Scouting was the axe badge. And what you had to do to get your axe badge was hit the piece of wood in the same place, and then the tree would be felled within seconds. I have hit this tree once in the same place and thousands of times in other places. You have arrived. Oh, I see. I could probably have just pulled it out of the way. Look at that, Brian. That's actually unbelievable. I've been standing here for about 15 minutes hacking away with a blunt machete. Absolutely useless. Oh well. At least I'm now warm. Well, your morning continues to be absolutely unbelievable. Karula, I believe, has made her way back to her babies. Whether she's managed to find them anything to eat or not, I suppose remains to be seen. Doesn't seem like it. We're on Cheetah Plains, the normally completely immaculate state of the roads here disturbed by the elephants. I can hear some elephants up ahead shouting at each other, so we'll see if we can find them. We're just sort of 3 in a row pans over that way, and we are on our way to the actual open areas there to see what we can find. Oh, Brian, that was a complete waste of time, wasn't it? Absolute waste of time. Unbelievable. Well, at least I'm warm and my hands have got blisters on them now. I definitely hit that tree in the same place twice, out of at least 4,000 or 5,000 attempts with a very blunt machete. Poor me.
Woe is James.
Woe is me. What I also forgot to do there was have a taste, because the taste of that was a red thorn tree. The taste of the bark, the inner bark of the red thorn, is delicious. Sorry about that, Brian. No, I'm sure you are. I don't blame you for being disappointed. Yeah. What was that? Ah, sorry. I will continue my wafflings later on. Let's go back to the cubs.
We're still here with disappointed that I have to stay here until he arrives, but that would be a lie, as you can imagine. Any moment spent with these precious, despite the fact that our signal keeps disappearing. So we're going to be here until, well, until we have to leave, essentially. And we're just chatting about there's no want in this scenario. Oh, hello, look at this, watch this. Look at the Franklin. This Franklin's about to get such a fright. Oh, or not. Missed your opportunity, little cub. Ooh, anticipation building. The unsuspecting crested Franklin marching straight up to the cub. Oh, three unsuspecting crested Franklins. Cubs are interesting. They generally don't go for birds like this, and it's because the amount of noise that would result in terms of alarm, calls of alarm and frantic screeching. But you never know. These cubs are young and inexperienced. Are they going to try and tackle a Franklin? They might be a little bit too big. Where'd the cub go? I've lost it. Okay. There we go. Still a little spotted shadow. He completely hidden. Those birds had no idea that leopard cub was there. Not a clue. They've left now, so obviously the little leopard cub not quite brave enough just yet to tackle something of the size of a Franklin or a spurfowl. That moment of sheer excitement. Still watching, still curious, but not yet brave enough to launch an attack. And probably sensible. Oh, sibling, on the other hand, is a very different story. But definitely a sensible approach, because the screech of the Franklin could attract unwanted attention. And Crenata, just in terms of watching them, you wanted to know how I'm telling the cubs apart. The answer is they have a really clear, distinct size difference at the moment. The boy is much, much larger than the girl. And the girl has the most extraordinarily brown eyes. They are, I don't know how I would describe them. They're actually chocolate brown. I have never seen eyes like that on another leopard before in my life. The little female, brown eyes. The little male, sort of bluish, yellowish brownish eyes. There you go. There's the best color description ever. I'm sure there's a name for a color like that. So male big in bluish eyes, female tinier, brownish eyes. If we want to go into great detail, we can talk about the different spot patterns. Their spot patterns are unique. Every leopard spot patterns is like their fingerprint. It stays the same throughout their lives, and it is completely unique to it. Spotted the Franklin. Awesome. What's going to happen next? We await the moment in suspense. There's the Franklin. How brave are our cubs? Funnily enough, I think that might be the male cub. I'm not 100% sure. But funnily enough, it would be more likely that the female would start to practice hunting first. I mentioned that they become independent sooner, and they show signs of... There you go. For those of you who were eagerly anticipating the cub's first hunt, we might just have witnessed it. One very unsuccessful attempt at catching a Franklin, and some very confused and somewhat terrified Franklins disappearing off. Did you miss by any chance, little one? I'm not laughing at you, I promise. Promise. And as hilarious as those first bumbling attempts truly are, it's going to be what turns them into the fearsome predators that they will one day become. Oh, there's some very cross Franklins. Indignant. Oh, the cub's going again. Cheeky little monsters. Certainly keeping themselves thoroughly entertained. Well, since they have now disappeared off, we've spoken about practice making perfect. Let us find out if Brent's tree climbing skills are, I was going to say have improved any. I think he'd be a little bit upset by that. If his tree climbing skills are... Franklin flying off. If his tree climbing skills are as marvelous as they always are.
So I'm basking in my favorite Tamboti tree, and as you can see, I've decided not to move too far from the ground. Now this is on top of a nice big termite mound, and these multiple stems all around me are all from the same tree, and I think this is probably the biggest Tamboti tree on the whole of Djuma. Probably close on 800 years old. It is an absolutely magnificent tree and far from the beaten track, and the only way to really get here is on foot. Now, while we've been basking in the sun, warming up from the chilly morning, I have heard some elephants in that direction, so we're probably going to see if we can get a view of them as we sneak along the edge of this little river system. I just want to take another moment, and Dave's going to give you a tour of the tree from below now, and you can just see how spectacular and big it is, because remember, I'm not a small human. And these multiple trunks of this massive Tamboti. And if only it could tell stories, I'm sure it's seen its fair share of action and adventure just being stationary here. Now it's actually between two massive game paths, so I'm sure lots of different creatures have passed under this particular tree. Okay, so I'm going to have a quick walk down this path here. Now the elephants sound like they're probably not more than 50 or 60 meters away. I'm going to see if we can get a view from this side of the river first before we go across, because if we can get a view of the elephants, and I'm going to show you why, it would be the perfect spot to view elephants from as we come across here. So this is a little tributary of the Mawati, and you can see how deep it is here. Now the elephants sound like they're over there somewhere, but they do sound like they're on the move. So I can't get a visual from here. So we are going to sneak further to the south and see if we can get any visual there. Now, this drop here next to me is probably around 15 foot. Okay, you can see. Hi, Gabriella. Gabriella would like to know, what is my favorite thing about exploring the outdoors? I think it's finding the unexpected, Gabriella. Like that honey badger this morning. We were rushing to try find a male lion, and all of a sudden we found not one but 3 honey badgers. I think finding the unexpected is always incredible. Like those little creatures under the log. Now there's a spider I've never seen before, and I'm quite excited to go try figure out which spider it is. I'm going to have to help Dave through this particularly thick little section, because he's obviously got a big aerial on top of him. So let's go this way, Dave. I think this is going to be the easiest way. So while I help Dave get through here, let's go see what Commander Bond's been up to.
Haven't found a great deal, I have to tell you, here at Cheetah Plains. It's a very pretty morning, sorry, not afternoon yet. That's after 12 o'clock, isn't it, Brian? Yes. We thought we saw an elephant here, but it turned out to be a shiny tree. But there, everyone, is a red-billed hornbill. Can you see it, Brian? Yes. And it is enjoying the apricity of the morning in the same way that we are. There is no bird that enjoys apricity more than a hornbill. Always you will find them on the trees, soaking up the first rays of the sun. There it is next to us, Brian. It's over there. It's eating amongst the... Sorry about that. It is eating amongst the buffalo dung. We're picking out termites largely, I think. Termites love the buffalo dung and the elephant dung at this time of the year especially. And the hornbills, in turn, love the termites. As I was saying the other day, despite the fact that it is clearly very dry and there's seemingly not a great deal of life around, you wonder what on earth these birds are eating. Well, clearly there's enough, because the birds don't look so skinny. They look to be doing just fine. So clearly there is plenty of invertebrate life for them to be eating, and I suspect it's largely made up of termites at this time of the year. And I know that the aardvark, for example, an ant bear, although they're known for eating termites, they eat ants quite a lot during the summertime, but in the winter they tend to move on to the termites. And as we know, termites make up, just listen carefully to what I'm going to say here, the termite species living under the ground are a greater biomass than the above-ground herbivores. That means that all the elephants, all of the 9 species of antelope that we have here, the warthogs, the rhino, the hippopotamus, and everything else you can think of that eats a piece of grass or a piece of leaf, make up less mass than the mass of the termites living under the ground. And so there are a truly astonishing number of those termites under the ground, and that is what is sustaining these red-billed hornbills, yellow-billed hornbills, probably quite a few of the barbets, the rollers, and all the other insect-eating birds that have to overwinter here. There's a wind blowing from the southeast and a bit of a front blowing in, and I suspect quite strongly that we're going to have a slightly nasty afternoon of blustery conditions. Right, well, I can hear some crowned lapwings shouting in the clearings to the southeast. Let's head down there and see if we can find something other than a shiny tree that looks a little bit like an elephant from a great distance. Ah, now, James Richard, you say maybe we'll see some ground hornbills. Well, we did hear some when I was hacking away very ineffectually at that tree. We did hear some ground hornbills. Brian, what did they sound like? Exactly, just like that. That is a quite astonishing ability that Brian has to make the sound of the ground hornbill. There are some elephant tracks here. They're not very new and they're going the other way. It's very irritating. Let's go around the corner here and into the clearings. And there's even a slight smell of rain on the air. Ugh. It'll be nerve-wracking on the way back from Cheetah Plains, Brian, don't you think? Terrifying. Right, here we are arriving in the second clearings. They seem to be pumping both 3 in a row pan and the Cheetah Plains pan, so I think these clearings over the next little while are going to be full of action. And a very strange kind of white light. It's very, it's bright when the sun's shining on us, and it's not that sort of golden dawn light you'd kind of expect at this time of the day. It's very much, well, it's just glaring. I've just looked at the sun now, and my poor old eyes. Now, let's pop down here. I can't believe we've had so long with those cubs without anybody else coming near us. It's wonderful. There is the magpie shrike. The magpie shrike has flown away. Sorry about that, Brian. I promise I didn't frighten it. Let's see what else we can find around the corner here. So I heard the crowned lapwings going quack, 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 around here, which normally means they're crossed with something. Might have been a cheetah, might have been another crowned lapwing. There's the magpie shrike, beautifully back-rounded by the coming cold front. I almost always feel like when I see clouds like this coming over the place that I should be at the sea. Do you think that's what that magpie shrike thinks, Brian?
Definitely.
You think so? I think so too, yes. I think it's probably deeply likely. I mean, that really is quite a nice amount of colour you have there. Maybe I should take a picture, Brian. My 300mm lens, I don't think, is going to find more than a pinprick there. Oh no, it's not too bad. Let's see. It'll be awful, no doubt, but I'm going to give it a go. Ah, now the light has gone. Birdie num-num. I got him, Brian. I think it's going to be a world beater. I think it might feature on the cover of National Geographic very soon. Okay. Yes. Oh, flow away. It flew away, Brian. Did you know that flow was the past tense of fly? Well, now you do. We're coming into the third clearings now, where I'm hoping to find a great plethora of cheetah chasing all of the crowned lapwings around. Do you think that's likely, Brian? Potentially, maybe likely, yes. I'm going to have to put my blankie back. Oh, dear. You got it?
I saved it, yeah.
Oh, well done. I thought I'd lost my blankie, everyone. That would have been terrible. Imagine I'd lost my blankie on Cheetah Plains. I'd have been mortified for days. I see another vehicle up ahead. There's probably some sighting we're about to bump by mistake. It will be quite fun. Not for the vehicles in the sighting, of course, but for us. Oh, they're having coffee. Maybe they'll offer us some. Let's see. That I suspect very strongly is what the crowned lapwings were shouting at. Yes, the plains do not appear to be a great seething mass of life at the moment. Let's just get past these fellows, and then we'll head across to the west and see if we can't find a Temminck's courser or two. Right, let's go across to Brent and get an update from him.
So we know where Karula's cubs are. We're not sure where Karula is. So we had tracks of her from last night, this morning in this area, quite close to the southern boundary. So we've just come back here and we're just checking all these big game paths, making sure her tracks don't come this way. I think she's a bit further to the east, but Herb's checking that side, so we're gonna check through here. Those elephants we've heard, unfortunately, they moved south across our southern boundary. I was really hoping that Queen Karula possibly had a kill here around the Mawati. We did hear baboons alarm calling to the south of our southern edge of traverse area very early this morning. Maybe they spotted her. Let's go and check this big path here. Sorry, I heard there someone would want to see some, James Ritchie wants to see some tracks. What species of track was that again? Duiker tracks. Okay, James, I'll keep a close lookout for duiker tracks for you. I just want to check up into this riverine thicket. I mean, this is ideal hunting territory for Queen Karula. She would have zigged and zagged through these thickets looking for duiker. So hopefully we will find a duiker track. So we're not very far from where those cubs are. We're probably about 800 meters. Hi, Justin. Now, Justin's wondering what my least favorite thing about exploring the outdoors is. Justin, it's possibly being wet and cold. So sometimes we get rained on and it's thoroughly unpleasant. Okay, so we're coming right up to the edge of the Mawati now. You through there? There we go. Now, the Mawati is the biggest of our little river systems, and it's a dry creek bed. And leopards really like these type of areas. Oh, Natal Franklin bursting out of undercover. I think they probably give us the most skruks. Now, skruk is the Afrikaans word for a fright while we're out on foot. And we're just going to take a moment here and, we're going to sit here, but and just listen to all the birds. But James has got a little predator to show you, but we'll be back a little later.
Reading about them quickly. I think little critter is a bit insulting to what that is. That is Canis mesomelis, everybody, the black-backed jackal. We saw his partner chasing crowned lapwings just now. In fact, I'm just watching. I can see him still, but I'm not going to ask Brian to move the camera because he's in the woodland and foraging about the place. Now, they occur in little pairs like this, and they don't really like this sort of weather, so he'll lie there and try and remain warm. That could be the lady, it could be the man of the monogamous pair that they form. Sometimes they form sort of a pack, but not largely it's these monogamous pairs. And you can just hear complete silence all around us. So just to give you an idea how big it is, I mean, they weigh somewhere between, the book says to me here, between 6.5 and 13.5 kilograms. I mean, that seems like a ridiculous range. I suspect in this area that they are sitting at roughly 8 kilograms or so, so that's just under 20 pounds. So they're not very big. They're about the sort of height, I guess, of what, like a small Alsatian. Would you say, Brian?
Yeah.
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 Smallish Alsatian and a bit slighter. They don't have quite the bulk, but they are really good at knocking about the place. They're omnivorous. They'll eat anything they can. They're quick and they are very cunning. And this is why, of course, jackals are known, much like foxes around the world, as being cunning, and sometimes they're known as villains in folk tales and stories. That particular one doesn't look particularly villainous, does it? Doesn't look like it's about to rob a bank or steal something. Justin, you want me to do an impression of a jackal? You mean of a jackal's call? Well, I can try. I mean, I think that jackal will probably run away, so if it does, it's your fault, Justin. Where are those guests behind us? Okay, here we go, Justin. How's that, Brian?
That was amazing.
Thank you.
Incredible.
You can see the jackal is deeply, deeply affected by what I just said. It's lying there going, really? Thank you, Justin, for making an ass of me. I suppose I do that for myself. Canis mesomelis, the black-backed jackal. Now, while it sits there, there are a couple of interesting birds here on the right-hand side, Brian. I might trouble you with that long lens of yours. I think there is a pipit. Now, we all know about how lovely pipits are, don't we? They're just sitting on the clearings over there. They're the completely indistinct brown bird. Now we need to try and ooh, that might be a striped pipit. Do you see it? That's it. Super zoom in. You super zoomed. Goodness, he's not very big then, is he? No, not a very large fellow. Now, just have a good look at him, and once he's disappeared from frame, we will ascertain whether he is in fact a striped pipit or not. There are two striped pipits here, Brian. Two striped pipit. I also thought I may have seen a Temminck's courser, but I don't think I did. I think it was just that pipit running speedily across the clearings. Right, now you keep an eye on him. I will retrieve my book and see if I can decide whether that is indeed a striped pipit. Not common. And he's coming so close, he's going to be full frame soon. I think Brent was thinking that he'd seen one here a few days ago. Grassveld pipit, mountain wood, plain backed. You see, I don't think that is a it's a You know what that is? It is a buffy pipit, everybody. A buffy pipit. That's really quite special. I'm not sure I've seen that bird before. Oh no, I have. I've seen it in Etosha. Not a buffy pipit. No, I'm talking rubbish. Sorry, it wasn't. It's not a buffy pipit. It's a grassveld or African pipit. African pipit, not particularly astounding. Dash. That's the standard issue one. I'm surprised by that. Oh well. Grassveld or African pipit. Definitely not buffy. I shall just make sure on my bird application. Now you can see, everyone, the light is fading, and that is not because night time is falling. It is because this front is now starting to take hold. Oh, there it goes, across the road. Brian, have you heard the story, why did the pipit cross the road?
I haven't.
Do you know why it did?
No.
It is to find the termite on the other side. Now, I'm I've just heard some disturbing news that Steph is in the final control, which means that obviously we're going to have to answer that utterly appalling joke when we get home. Sorry for that, Brian.
That's okay.
African pipit. Let me just quickly find this thing. It's interesting, you know, it's not a striped pipit. Do you know why not, Brian?
Why?
Indeed, because there is no such thing as a striped pipit. Where I got that from, I couldn't begin to tell you. No, there is a striped pipit. There is. Phew. But that's not it. No, that's the African pipit, everybody. I'm not even going to show you a picture of it because you've had such a really good view of it there. So there's no real point. African pipit, and I think we're going to press on now and see what else we can find. We're going to go west through the rest of the clearings, and then we'll press on. Oh, the jackal has absconded, Brian. It might be stalking you from behind. While we try and find the jackal, you see if you can try and find Brent.
Fortunately, I'm quite easy to find, but we're in the Mwati riverbed now, and you can see this is a big clay wall that's been eaten out, and there's some very interesting stuff happening in this clay wall. Now, if we have a look where my stick is there, see that perfectly round hole in the clay? Now, that is where a dung beetle's dung ball. We've seen the dung balls above the ground. We've seen what they look like when they get abandoned, but there we go. So there was a dung ball in here, and obviously as this bank collapses, that dung ball would have unfortunately fallen out of the bank, and the tunnel in would have probably been somewhere over here, but that's the back side of the dung wall. Now above we see there's a spike thorn, and just to give you an idea how desperate plants can be for water, and we can see different roots coming out here, and there's some more here. And if we keep going down, still from the spike thorn, going down into the water table at the bottom of the river. Isn't that absolutely amazing? Now, I'm 6'3", and probably what's another half of me up there. So another 3.
There we go. Unfortunately, the Brent appears to have frozen, and okay, this time it really is the last view we are going to have of them. Ephraim's on his way, as is yours, and we're just going to enjoy the last few moments with the last. Jeandre actually spotted the cub. We lost them completely for a little while, and the incredible spotting skills of Jeandre, he has managed to relocate at least one of them for us. I have no idea. Look at that. Jeandre, now you're just showing off. Wait, hold on, what? Ah, there we go. Ephraim, with his marvelous sense of humor, just called in a... Tex said, "What have you got there?" He said, "Oh, I've got Madash. So I was frantically moving, and then he went, Lutu, nothing. So, you know, minor panic there for a moment, but that's okay. No wild dog, by the way. Madash means wild dog. We can stay with our little cubs and watch them. There are no wild dogs. It was just a joke. You're welcome to come join us. I'll show you where they are, and then I'll pull out. Whew. You can't cry wild dog. It's like the boy who cried wolf, except completely different. Okay, guys, here comes yours. He is approaching. I'm going to have to do some serious directing in order to show him exactly where the cub is, and in fact I think I have to move in order to give him the opportunity to see where they are. So while we do that, while we do some negotiations and chat to Ephraim, let's go back to Brent, who has unfrozen on bushwalk.
So we are no longer frozen. We've thawed quite quickly, and we've moved from that little spike thorn root system to a massive, much bigger root system, and there's 3 or 4 knob thorns up above here. Now, these knob thorns, I think, come rainy season, are going to be in the river. Now, very interesting thing is, apart from being on a bank that's about to fall down, you can see the elephants have broken and fed off these roots as well. So you can see a knob thorn's got a taproot system. So very few roots up on the top, and it's got massive central root coming down. Now this is a smaller one. I'm sure there's a couple in. And what that's going to do is cause these trees to fall out of the bank. Now, the little nest or cocoon that Herbie found in here, and I've had a look, it's no longer active, so we can take it out. Now, there we go. If any of you have ever had silkworms, this will look quite familiar. So it's a butterfly or a moth nest. Now, I think that this has been attacked. So you can see there's a hole. Normally, if it had come out by itself, this top little thing would have opened and the whole animal would have crawled out. A little hole like that, I think there's a little predator that's managed to get inside there. And we're going to see if there's any remnant casings inside. Just give me a second, let me get my knife out. And I think we're going to go with the skizzers today for opening this one up. A little bit more delicate than using a big blade. There we go. Make sure we don't lose anything from inside. So there we go. Look at that. So as I said, there's that little cocoon, and it's been attacked by what looks to be a little spider. So it is dead, and that little parasite or predator has made a hole in there and then come inside and literally eaten. I'm going to open up. Let's just try to get the thing out. Whoopsie. Oh, shame. So normally, there we go.
A little bit lower.
A little bit lower. You can see, look at that. Now, normally this would obviously be moist and whatnot, so that little predator has gone. You can see the wings starting to form. So it wasn't too far from coming out, but now you can see, if I break here, the whole inside has been eaten by something. So it was probably very close to reaching adulthood when a little, I'm not even sure what it could be. It could be a little spider. It could be any little insect that has managed to burrow inside there and eat the whole thing. Isn't that absolutely amazing? And you can, I mean, look at this. The wings were starting to form even. So looking at what's formed here, I think it's more than likely a moth, not a butterfly. But unfortunately, it got found out by a little predator before it was able to reach adulthood. Now, isn't that amazing? I think where did I drop that now? You see where I dropped the outside of the case? Well, I'll find it. Now, I'm going to take this home, actually. Oh, Herbie spotted where I dropped it, maybe. Oh, no, there it is. I see it. So I'm actually going to take this home. I think this is absolutely fascinating. There we go. Now, it's not often we get to see stuff like that. And normally, if this had been closed, I wouldn't have opened it at all, because it would mean that the little critter was still alive inside. But isn't that absolutely fascinating? Now, as fun as it is looking at these gorgeous little things like this, James has got something a bit hairier and a bit scarier.
Oh, shoot. I'll tell you why I said, oh, shoot, just now, everybody. But there, for the meantime, is a lion. And he was just lying straight there, doing absolutely nothing as we drove past. He deigned to open his eyes, which was quite kind of him. Now, those of you who have been so very good at identifying which male lions we've been seeing, perhaps you could tell me who you think this is. I'm going to assume it's a Birmingham fellow. He does have that distinctive scarring on his nose. I'm going forward by mistake. There's two scars above his right nostril. Brian, can you hear the car creaking like Jan van Riebeck's ship? Not sure why it's doing that, everyone. The wheel might fall off. Anyway. So this, I think, is pretty much certainly one of the Birminghams. And he has probably been here since the early hours of this morning. Now, I know that the Styx Pride were on Nkoro earlier on. Perhaps he was tracking them during the night and became so exhausted by the thought of it all that he just went to sleep here. He looks completely comfortable. No idea where his brothers might be. I think there was one male with the Styx Pride earlier today. And we still don't know where the Nkuhumas are. So just to give you an update while we stare at that totally recumbent cat. There were 4 lionesses on Buffelshoek Dam, on Buffelshoek today. That's not the dam, that's the property to the north of Djuma. And they went off north as well. They seem to be the Talamati Pride, and that means that we don't know where the rest of the Nkuhumas are with their 3 cubs. They left that buffalo kill yesterday on Arathusa after they were set upon by the hyenas, probably left in order to look after the cubs rather than because they felt they couldn't defend their kill. So they went off. We haven't seen them since. I don't think they were seen last night again. I certainly haven't heard any reports of that. And so, yeah, it's difficult to say where they are. We know that the tiny baby little cubs are in the same place as they were yesterday. That was a very special kind of, well, I don't know. How would you describe it, Brian, that sighting of those tiny little things?
I don't actually know.
It is rather heartwarming.
It is.
There's definitely been a massive cub and cuteness overload with those little leopards today. And seemingly being much more playful today. It's quite nice, isn't it? Christopher, you're in Arizona and you're wondering about how hard a lioness will fight to look after her cubs when attacked by a strange male lion. Christopher, the answer is as hard as it takes, or as hard as she can, without getting injured herself. So she can't afford to be injured, and that's very important, because if she gets injured, well, then the cubs die anyway. So there's no point in her risking her life in order to save them. And so, well, we like to think of lionesses as being ferocious mothers, and they are indeed. If they're actually faced with the chance of becoming injured themselves, or certainly with a chance of death themselves, they will normally let the cubs go to the males. That certainly happened with the Styx Pride. And interestingly, the lionesses that copped it the worst when the Birmingham boys came into this area were the Nkuhuma lionesses. And they, I think these chaps killed 3 of them, if I'm not mistaken. The Birminghams killed 3 Nkuhuma lionesses on their arrival in this area in winter last year. And they didn't have any cubs. They had 2 that were just over a year old, one of which was killed. In fact, I think they were both killed. Gosh, I can't even remember. Isn't that terrible? Because we didn't actually ever see it, but I think they were both killed. And I think that the fighting that ensued as a result of that resulted in a few of the others losing their lives too. So, not always. The textbooks will tell you, Christopher, that they won't risk their lives. Clearly, in the case of the Nkuhuma Pride, it's possible that they were trying to risk their lives, and may have been risking their lives for Junior, their young male, who now seems to have set up a little coalition of his own. And I walk in the rain. You're wondering if Junior has been seen lately. I walk in the rain. I am not aware that he's been seen lately, no. And that's a very good thing. We don't want him in this area because these guys will take him out eventually. We also want him to go away from his natal pride, find a pride that is unrelated to him, set up shop there, and hopefully sire his own cubs over that way. That would be much better for us. So I'm not sad. Well, I am sad that we haven't seen him because I think he's going to grow into a magnificent lion like those Matumbas, one of whom is his father. They are much bigger than these fellows. They're not quite as aggressive or as willing to take on others as the Birminghams were, but certainly they are magnificent looking creatures, and I think Junior's going to be much the same. His coalition partner, slightly less, apparently slightly less impressive to look at, but still quite young, and probably the offspring of the Majingalan, if I'm not mistaken. So thank you to most of you agreeing that this is Birmingham number 2. I think I remember that scarring just above his right nostril as being Birmingham number 2. So thank you very much for that. I've no doubt there'll be some disagreement. There always is a little bit, because they're not that easy to tell apart, because we don't see them every day. You'd never confuse Karula for Shadow. Well, not after looking at them for 5 minutes. But these chaps you can confuse, and they will get new scarring. Their noses will change colour, their manes will change colour the whole time. So it's not always that easy. Wonder what he thinks about being called number 2. What do you think, Brian?
I'm sure he's quite chuffed about it.
All right, we're going to leave this area, this lion sleeping recumbently where he is on the southern boundary, while we make our way back towards Djuma under these greying skies. Let us head across to Jamie the Antelope Patterson and see what she has to tell you.
I thought I was Pajamas Patterson. I can't have too many nicknames, otherwise I'm going to get very confused. Oh, what a marvellous morning. From lions to leopard cubs to lion cubs to honey badgers on foot. I think we really pulled it out of the bag, at least the animals have pulled it out of the bag today, on this very special Wednesday morning. Just your average day out here in the bush. I don't think there's ever a day where I get up in the morning and think, gosh, I actually really don't want to go to work today. That never happens. I am well aware of how fortunate that truly makes me. Right, now we have left the cubs, as you can see, finally, after telling you I would for ages and ages. We have now left them to Yors and to Ephraim to keep an eye on them and to see whether or not there's any sign of Karula. Now, her last tracks went into this block where these impala are currently standing. I don't think she's still here, but I'm not 100% certain about that, but I'll explain to you why I feel that way. First of all, because the elephants have wandered through here, and I think they would have pushed her out. Secondly, we're not far from the cubs at all, and the entire time that we've been sitting there, we haven't heard one serious alarm call. And I mean, now we can clearly see these impala have been wandering about here all morning. They haven't picked up on her. The squirrel that was alarm calling earlier, I don't think was frantically calling it a leopard, and the go-away birds were just doing their morning call. So nothing's alarm called here, unless she's caught something and she's snacking on it before she goes to fetch her cubs, perhaps knowing that once she does fetch them, the little ravenous beings will descend upon it, and she will have to wait once again to have a meal. She has been putting in a lot of hard work. But the impala are too relaxed. This is exactly where Ephraim described where her tracks went in. I think she's a bit further towards Leadwood. And my apologies, this morning I thought that Herbert had seen her. He hadn't seen her. He'd seen her tracks on Leadwood, not Karula herself. So I thought that he'd seen her. I couldn't quite hear, and obviously it was just the tracks. I think she's further east, hiding out somewhere there. Not hiding out, hunting somewhere there. I kind of don't want to go too far away from this area because I want to be around when she comes back to fetch the cubs. so that we can keep track of where she goes and hopefully then have her on the kill with the cubs this afternoon for the sunset safari. While we plan out what we're going to do, maybe extend our search slightly further afield, let's go over to Brent, who has found some interesting footprints in the sand for you.
So James Richard requested a Diker track for his track collection, and we've got a very fresh one here. So there we go. You can see how small it is next to my finger. And there we go, the two cloves of the hoof, and heading straight to a jackalberry tree where there's a bit of fruit. So they really like the jackalberry fruit. So this is from early this morning, but there we go, a Diker track. Now really, I said not more than an hour or two old. You can see how the ground's a slightly darker color. Now if I take my finger and I flick, you can see that slight darkness from the ground that's been not exposed to as much sun, and the ground that sits on the top obviously gets not burnt but lightened by the sun. So when you dig a little bit, you get that darker coloration. You can see that on the Diker track, and that's how we know it's really fresh. But we're walking in one of my favorite types of bushveld, and it's called it's a floodplain basically. So if we have a quick wider look around us, you can see there's the Mawati River, and you can see there's the high bank. And we're on the floodplain, so this is an area where lots of nutrient-rich soil grows. So during the summer months, the grass will be really high and thick here, and you get some really incredible trees in these areas. But also, if we swing around and we look where the really big trees are, and they're all in a line. So there's a wonderful big jackalberry going on like that. And if we look carefully, you can see how we go from flat ground up to high ground. Now there's your 100-year flood mark. So only normally once every 100 years will the water go above that flood mark. And you can see, if we keep going, the big trees, they're all sitting on that 100-year flood mark. They're not sitting right in the river. Now, it's been probably a long time since the water got that high. And we can tell that by the amount of bush and build-up on this floodplain area. And occasionally, some of the bigger and stronger trees with good root systems will be able to survive the floods. And we can see some big leadwoods, some big knobthorns up ahead. So let's keep going along the floodplain. So Judy H is wondering, I think it was ginkgoes. Are they present in our traverse area? I'm not actually sure of a ginkgo tree. I don't know it. So I'm guessing they're probably not present in our traverse area. I could be wrong. I do know most of the tree species, but not all of them. And one of the other really cool trees we get around here, let's go have a look at it. It's called a Lowveld or Transvaal saffron. And the leaves actually smell like saffron. And then that's actually quite a pretty view if we come here before we go to the saffron tree. Now there's the epitome of a tracker out in the riverbed, looking for tracks, scouting ahead. See, Herbie doesn't even know he's on camera at the moment. Smile, Herbie. There we go. Okay, let's go look at the saffron tree. Let's try to get a leaf from it. I'll bring it to you, Dave. And the saffrons are starting to flower already. Oh, gorgeous. Now, the flowers are still a little bit green, so they haven't opened yet. And we can see them there. So tiny little flowers on the saffron. Now, if I crush these leaves up a bit, and oops, the flowers a bit. Absolutely wonderful smell.
Oh dearie me, it appears as though you have frozen on bushwalk. The reason I'm giggling is because Kirsty in my ear is in absolute hysterics. I don't know what just happened, or the way perhaps Brent froze with a funny face or something. I don't know, but either way, There's something seriously funny. Did you hear that?
Froze with him putting leaves up his nose.
Oh, right. I see. So it froze with Brent putting leaves up his nose. Now I understand the hilarity.
Please.
Screenshots, everybody, please. You can send them through to jamie.patterson4 on Twitter. I would very much appreciate those. In the meantime, your arrival is perfectly timed because we've just come upon the herd of elephants that we've been listening to all morning while we've been with those adorable little cubs. I'm still laughing now at the idea of Brent with leaves up his nose and completely frozen. You know what? It is remarkable. We do review sessions. As we watch this little Ellie, we do review sessions twice a week to improve upon various aspects of our performance. And invariably you are paused at some kind of horrendous angle, pulling some kind of horrific face. That will be one to add to the collection. Luckily we've got these lovely elephants to rid us of that image so that it doesn't stay with us for the rest of the morning. There's actually quite a few of them about. We heard them, as I said, rustling while we were with Karula and her cubs. We're going to try and sneak up a little bit closer. I just didn't want to separate mom and baby. So we've got one here that's about 2.5 years of age. Looks like a little bull. Okay, let's go forward a bit and I'll see if we can't get you a better view. I'm just making sure that there's no other elephants around me before we go forward. Hello, guys. I don't suppose you've seen a leopard, have you? Oh, whoopsie daisies. About to bump into Ephraim. Hey, Ephraim, do you mind if I join you? I think he said no problem. Here we go. An interesting little pattern that the female has on her ear. She's got a couple of nicks and folds in there that will make her forever identifiable to all of us. And after all of the excitement of the morning, a peaceful elephant moment is exactly what we need. Just it completes the morning, rounds it all off for us. You can hear a rustling about. Life is very tricky for our elephants at the moment, and we spoke about this yesterday, elephant sighting around Buffelshoek Dam, about the fact that their bones are becoming more and more prominent. From their spines to their hip bones, they're still fine. They've still got plenty of reserves left to keep them going, but they are showing a loss of condition. It's becoming clearer and clearer every day. And it is something that is, we've got the joy of the cubs over the next few months, and that's going to be something that will forever be incredibly special. We're also going to have some very tragic scenes play out, and hopefully we're all really hoping that the rains do come when we need them, which should be in around October. It's going to be the hardest time to sit and watch animals like elephants desperately searching for food. The trees, though, are the saviors. With their deep root systems, access to underground nutrients, and their own way of converting and storing the nutrients that they utilize, the trees will be the savior of a great deal of animals. And then tubers and root systems as well will also be what the elephants are constantly looking for. Mom keeps shuffling away. Definitely not the best view of an elephant we've ever had. Let's try and go around the corner, and we might be able to see the rest of the herd as well. But while we do that and get another view of our exceptionally large mammals, James has got another exceptionally large mammal.
Try and guess from that view, everybody, what we are looking at. It is not a Doberman Pinscher. It is not a polo pony. Indeed, Brian. It is a buffalo. And unfortunately, that buffalo has had its tail chewed off by ticks. And you can see him wagging ineffectually at the sort of, I don't know what he's doing, he's sort of scratching, I guess. Here's a one in slightly finer fettle. He has all of his appendages intact. And he's eating, this is quite interesting, he's now browsing almost exclusively on the round-leafed teak. Now, try and see, is he eating round-leaf teak fresh leaves, or is he picking at the old ones? He's pretty much taking everything, isn't he? Now, this is not a buffalo's preferred forage by any stretch of the imagination. I think he's taking the slightly yellower ones, you know. I'm not sure that he's taking the very... Well, there's not much green left there, is there? There he is, going straight on to the plain green ones there, Brian. Exactly as I predicted he wouldn't do. It's nice to be 100% wrong sometimes as opposed to just slightly, because then there's no excuse to make, you know.
Keeps you on your toes.
Exactly. Very long tongue. Very useful, of course. That's how they graze. They don't actually bite the grass and the forage off with their teeth. They use their tongues. There's another one eating strychnos leaves off to the right hand side. Oh, hello. Yes. Good day. He is very unimpressed with Brian for some reason. Brian, did you think a bad thought about him?
I didn't.
They really do look so deeply morose, especially at this time of the year. And especially when they're having to eat what they don't want to eat. Now that one is eating Strychnos madagascarensis. That, of course, is the black monkey orange, these scraggly bushes. And he's just trying to pick off a few of those leaves. But if you look at them, they're not in bad nick. That guy's not quite in as good a nick as the one that doesn't like Brian in front of us. You can see his hips there. But the chap next to us looks very fat and full and not, well, he looks deeply unhappy, but all buffalo look deeply unhappy. But he seems to be doing absolutely fine, which I think is quite impressive. See, his hips are definitely not nearly as pronounced as the other one. As he eats his round-leafed teak. I don't know why they don't eat them all the time. I assume that there's some kind of chemical defense in them that makes them taste not so nice. Bara, an interesting one from you. You say you're curious to know why it is that grass has got more nutrients in it than tree leaves. It's not so much that, Bara, as it is the other things that go with leaves. Leaves often have got chemical, or tree leaves have often got chemical compounds that defend them, which makes them toxic far more often than grass leaves are toxic. Yes, you do get grass leaves with chemical toxins in them, but nothing like the ones that you do in leaves that we have here. And I think the chemical makeup of the cells within the tree leaves versus the grass leaves is also quite a lot different. And so it's the nutrients are just different. I think you'll find a higher protein content in tree leaves, but you'll probably find that the chemical compounds that defend them against browsers make them largely unpalatable and toxic in many cases. And if we look at these, the ones that buffalo is eating there, the round-leaf teak, they've got a very, very waxy substance on the top of the leaf. I would get out and get you one, but he might take offense and attack me severely, which wouldn't be very nice. I will get one. While you look at that one, I'll sneak out this side of the car stealthily like a leopard, and I'll get you a piece of what he's eating, and I'll show you the waxy cuticle, which I think, ooh, Brian, just behind this tree. I've just got out of the car and noticed them. They haven't noticed me. Are some warthogs. Can you see them?
Oh, wow.
They're right here. And they... Oh, the little one's just noticed me. He hasn't noticed that I'm out of the car yet, though. Can you even see him?
No.
Not really. I can't move the car, everyone. But you might just be able to hear them chewing. Here comes the little one on the right-hand side now. They're only standing about 10 meters from me, and I'm standing on the ground out of the vehicle. And they, of course, are not eating. They are not eating the roundleaf teak. They have to eat, try and find bits of grass and the roots underneath the grass to eat. Probably they haven't noticed me standing next to the car. You see him digging there with his feet, digging with his snout. Or her snout, that's a little teenage warthog. The mother is either deeply used to people, probably from being in a camp, or she just hasn't noticed me. But it's not nice not to be noticed, you know. It makes one feel short and insignificant. This is wonderful. I'm just going to see what they do. They haven't run off by any means. I mean, they've just kind of wandered gently across the road to where the Doberman buffalo and his friends are. Now she's a little bit suspicious. And them tusks is quite formidable. But as she starts chewing again, you can see she's completely relaxed. Beautiful. That's really nice, everyone. Especially that they didn't run away. It always makes me feel quite honoured when an animal sees you, and especially when you're on foot and doesn't run away, just gets on with its life. These waterties also don't look in too bad a condition, but I was driving to Hoedspruit 2 days ago, and along that there's a main road that goes along there, and it's next to a game reserve, and many warthogs had escaped from the reserve, and they were eating on the sort of a very wide grass verge there because there was just no grass left. I don't know if you can hear them eating away. There you can see the little wart underneath her eye, and the male much bigger than that. She doesn't have the most feminine eye, does she, Brian?
No.
Still, she is a pig. And amazing colours with the copper of the roundleaf teak there. Eating the rhizomes and stolons and underground bits and pieces there. It's wonderful. The breeze has kind of dropped a bit, but this front is definitely covering us over now, and I think this afternoon could be quite chilly. And of course in the cold the warthogs don't like it so much. They have to go and live. They have to go and live in the warmth of a nice termite mound. Safari Dean, you say it's much more entertaining watching herbivores eat during a drought. I'm assuming you mean than during when it isn't a drought, perhaps? It is interesting indeed, I mean, trying to see what they eat and how they get by, and in the same way as I was saying about the about those birds and how on earth they survive with what little there is to eat, you'd think that the herbivores are, you know, if you look around us, you'd think they'd really be struggling to find anything to eat. But at the moment, there's still none of them that are looking particularly ropey. And they'll tell you that warthogs are the first to feel the effects of a drought. I think these guys are looking just fine. Very nice. Now, Brian, if you have a look here at this leaf that I retrieved at great personal risk to my safety. That's what I do, you know, Brian. Yes. There is the round leaf teak, and what I'll do is, if I just run my nail along it, what I've done there is broken the waxy cuticle that you can see. Can you see that? A sort of dark color. And that just makes it probably slightly unpalatable, and I suspect it also makes it fairly toxic for animals to eat too extensively, especially when it's fresh and it isn't in this sort of a drying, wintry state. All right. Would you like a taste, Brian?
I'd love a taste.
No, I'm sure you would.
Thank you.
What do you think's for breakfast today? Is it fry-up today?
No.
No, it isn't. It's muffin day, isn't it?
Fruit.
I will be having coffee and siege then.
So waxy.
It is quite waxy. All right, on we go. That's all that talk of food's made me very hungry for my seeds. On we go. I'm going to call that lion in for Ephraim. Except he seems to be on the radio. All right, Jamie has got the leopard cubs again.
We've got a really special surprise for you. We figured that since all is quiet here, it would be fine for us to come and rejoin this particular sighting and just enjoy some time spent with Karula's little ones, in the hope that we are here. Oh, what was that? Was that just a big yawn? In the hope that we are here when Mom comes back to collect them. It does seem as though she has crossed south at the Mulwati drainage line. Well, hopefully she does make a kill, either way for these little ones, but hopefully she decides to make a kill, or is lucky making a kill on Juma rather than to the south of our boundary. So what that means for uninitiated viewers is we cannot go absolutely everywhere. We've got certain places we can go, and it looks as though she has crossed in a river system outside of the place that we can go. So we can't follow up on her there. She's probably desperately hunting away. Looks like we've got Hosanna there. Although it's very hard to tell. I can't see completely. I don't know if Chandra, if you agree or if you...
I think so.
I think so too. I think little sis is hidden behind the tree off to the right. You won't be able to see Shongile for now. I think we've got the little male here. Having a jolly good clean and slightly more restful than when we last saw them, where they were. I think they've tired themselves out, all of that playing first thing in the morning. And hello once again to Justin, who is looking a little bit ahead in time, and we've spoken a lot about the potential independence of these cubs when it occurs, and Justin's wondering, when will Shongile, ergo when does a female leopard, when is it first ready to have its first set of cubs? The answer is usually between 2 to 2.5 years of age is when they are ready, they've established themselves territory and they are ready to reproduce. Some individuals might start going into heat or into estrus earlier than that, but its chances are it's going to be a false estrus, and if they do have cubs, because they haven't established themselves a territory yet, the chances of survival are a little bit lower. But it's around 2.5 years old that they will start to have their first set of cubs. And I mean, if you think about it, Shadow must be nearly 10, Shadow and Tundi, and Karula is 12, so she had them just when she was just over 2 years old, according to that mathematics. Now that, of course, would be the older siblings of these two little bundles of mischief. Obviously, we're very far away at the moment, which is exactly where we want to be. We're definitely not going to try for getting any closer. And we're going to be as quiet as possible. That's your foot, little one. And there he's going to go for little sister. I keep calling you a little sister there. Oopsie, sorry, that was my fault, not Chandre's. I haven't actually lifted my foot off the brake, which I'm going to do now, and it's not Chandre's fault. There we go. That hasn't really helped any. I was a bit concerned I was going to crash into yours. Now, there's a chance, if Karula does kill something south of the boundary, that this will be... we won't have any luck following up on the sunset safari, because she might come and fetch them and move them to the south. We won't know until we head back out here in a few hours. Nevertheless, I definitely think this so far has been my best sighting of these cubs. To see them barrel about and play has been absolutely extraordinary. And also it's such a contrast to when we first started seeing them at around, they were about 2 months of age, where they were slinking and a little bit scared of everything around them, which of course makes sense. Everything's a bit terrifying when you are a very tiny leopard cub. But to see them now as comfortable as they are, completely ignoring us, and you understand how quiet and patient and very careful work will eventually result in the most extraordinary leopard sightings with very little impact on the animal themselves. And that in turn is essential to their survival, because that is what makes conservation areas like this attractive to tourists, and that in turn is what brings in the financial requirements that a place like this needs to protect it and to run it. Oh, so flexible. Doing a little bit of yoga, foot overhead. Now, earlier on, we not only saw them playing, but we saw their first hunting attempt, or at least our first time seeing a hunting attempt. And James Richard, you were wondering, when they tried to tackle the spurfowl, the birds that they were trying to hunt, would those birds be capable of inflicting any kind of serious damage? Probably not. I mean, it's unlikely. Oh. Are you going to go? I'm going to slide forward. There we go. How marvellous. James, it's very, very unlikely that they would have been able to inflict damage, only if they'd hit a vulnerable spot like an eye. So potentially the spurfowl, the name spurfowl, comes from the spur on the back of the leg, particularly prominent on the male, and it's only really if that had hit a cub in the eye that they would have done serious damage. But despite their size, these little creatures are incredibly stocky and very powerful. I promise you now, even though they're about the size or just a little bit larger than your average domestic house cat, you would not want to be involved in a game with these two. Might seem like a wonderful idea, very, very cute, but they are phenomenally strong. Those claws are sharp as spears or knives, that makes more sense, and their teeth are incredibly pointy little things. You don't want to be involved in an altercation. Right, from one baby to a baby of a different kind and certainly a different size, let's head back over to James.
There are some elephants, everybody, and that is the little tiny baby elephant, probably only standing about 4 feet off the ground. So very small, definitely less than a year old, and Mum is just behind feeding, and behind her, or sort of in front of her and behind us, 3 others of this little herd that are feeding through the winter woodland. Isn't that nice? Very relaxed. They hardly even reacted as we came up here. And they're very close by, those things. They're what, about maybe 15 meters from us? I was astounded by how few elephants we saw today. I thought there were going to be lots because there were tracks and they were shouting all over the place. And these are the first lot that we've seen. In the background you might just be able to hear the white-crested helmet shrikes going tick, 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 tick. A fairly substantial cow that we're looking at. I'm going to wait here, I'm not going to reverse. And then the others, there's the little one and that little one's mother. Christopher, an interesting question from you in Arizona. You say when the elephants show aggression to the guides, what is our best approach? Is it to raise our arms, or what's more effective, that or raising our voices? Christopher, without wanting to sound preachy, an elephant only gets aggressive if it feels threatened. This elephant is not being aggressive, it's being inquisitive. And if an elephant is genuinely aggressive, or because it feels so threatened, the best way to reduce that problem is to just move away. So even if it feels like you're being a little bit yellow-bellied or lily-livered, we're not here in the business of frightening animals, and we're not in the business of sort of extreme sports, because, well, I mean, this is not the place for it. This is a place for connection with the wilderness. And so if this was a 4.5-ton elephant bull, I had a clear road in front of me, I'd simply move away. It's only in extreme situations that I will raise my voice or shout at an elephant or hit the car or something like that. I just don't feel like it's necessary most of the time. And most of the time, if you've got yourself into a situation like that, well, you probably should have read the signs beforehand. And I've done it myself many times by mistake. So this animal is very clearly showing us what he thinks. He's being curious, but he's also shaking his head and giving the typical signs of an animal that's sort of uncomfortable with us being around. He's not particularly, because the older cows are here and they don't really, they're not affecting. They will tell him if there's any threat, and they're clearly not vaguely worried about us. It's so wonderful when that sort of thing happens. Hello Tanya, you're a new viewer and you want to know how many elephants there are normally in a herd. Tanya, it varies a huge amount, and especially with the time of season. But in this area, it's often not more than 8 to 10 elephants. Then you might get up to sort of 15, and then during the winter time, some of those little groups of 8 to 10 and 15, they agglomerate into much bigger herds, and they move to and from feeding and watering grounds together. And so they can get up to the size of about 100 elephants or so, but that is unusual. So this little group is quite typical for this side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and there's an 8th one just sort of out behind them. We've got a little herd of 5 that we see quite often. One with the bottom third of her trunk missing. That's quite a small herd for this area, but 20 would be a large herd for here. And you read in the book sort of 15 is average. I haven't seen that. And Tegan, you say, how many years does it take for an elephant to grow to its full size? An elephant never gets to its full size until the day it dies, normally, Tegan. They do lose weight just before they die, but they actually keep growing until the day that they die. So a 45-year-old elephant bull is bigger than a 35-year-old elephant bull. They slow down the growing process, absolutely, but they never actually completely stop growing. Just very, very peacefully feeding here. Somehow finding enough to eat. And I was talking about the warthogs earlier and how they don't seem to be showing too many signs of nutritional stress. I think what you find with the elephants is that they are. I think some of the elephants are starting to look a little bit ropey. The little one that you're looking at is not too bad, but the one to the right there that was giving us these head shakes, giving us a bit of a rev. Well, if you look at his hips, you can see his hips are now starting to stick out a bit. Yeah. Yeah, the little one next to us just gave us a bit of a head shake. His mum's just walked across the road behind us. Here comes a fairly substantial bull. So Christopher, here we are. We have a decision to make. Here comes a big bull from the right. Is it a bull? He's now stopped behind a tree. I think it's a bull. He's coming towards us. Now, if I was unsure of his body language, if I was unsure of how he felt, in order to just decrease any risk and decrease the chance of escalating a situation, just move away, you know. There'd be no point in me trying to stand him down and show how brave I was, because that's just not the point of what we do. It's not a bull, it's a cow. I can see between her front legs now. She's just quite a big cow. The rest of the herd is crossing behind us. It's a lovely sighting. They don't seem too perturbed by us, but you always watch them, always make sure that you are keeping an eye on their behavior. Alright everyone, that's going to be it from Brian and I today. Thank you very much for joining us on our little jaunt, especially to see those tiny little baby lions. That was very special this morning. We're going to just sit with these elephants for a bit longer, and while we do that, we'll hand you back to Jamie and her leopard cubs. We'll see you this afternoon. Bye-bye.
And two little identical bundles of fluff, one on the left and one not quite so clear on the right. Settling down, I think, for a morning now that they've played out the high spirits. Settling down for a morning of patiently waiting for Mom to come back, hopefully with news of breakfast. They don't know when she's coming back, they've got no idea. They just know that they have to wait here until she does. And I have no doubt that as we speak, Karula, she hasn't already caught something and is on her way, is furiously searching for a way to provide for these two little ones, who have provided us in turn with some of the most joyful moments that I have ever experienced. I think that may have been the most extraordinary leopard sighting of my life. It really truly was. Those leopard cubs playing like that in the glorious morning sunlight with bones, and as marvelous as our first sighting was of these little cubs and the time that we've spent with them, I think that them falling over each other, battering each other, grabbing everything that they could find, I truly feel as though it really doesn't get. That's becoming a bit of a catchphrase now. It really doesn't get better than this, which is going to become redundant if I keep saying it every time we have a marvelous moment. But I'm so glad that we got to share this with all of you. I'm really hoping, fingers crossed, that Karula does make a kill somewhere on Juma, but if she doesn't, well, at least we know that her two little ones, who have been furiously burning up energy, will have some breakfast to fill some empty bellies when she does return. We'll follow up on the sunset safari this afternoon, so you'll just have to come on, watch us in a couple of hours, and you'll be able to find out whether or not she has been successful. Chandra, thank you for all of your fantastic camera work as always. Chandra has also got a big smile on his face. I think he's enjoyed this as much as we have. And thank you to Kirst, Jerry, and the wonderful Chelsea in final control for directing us. Kirsty, I'm sorry if the Cubs took every thought out of my mind and I stopped thinking. But most importantly, thank you to all of you for joining us on this fantastic sunrise safari. Have a wonderful day or evening wherever you are in the world, and we will catch up with you tomorrow. Bye-bye, everybody.